But I do remember right when, so we had our warm meals and had some coffees down there at the hut, and we're like, all right, we need to stay on schedule. Let's get moving. And when we'd walked in, it had finally stopped raining. And I remember walking out the front door of that hut, and it was raining harder than it had been the entire trip up to that point, right for the beginning of our climb.
Yep. I remember that. I think I took a picture of all of us with our stuff off. And then, like, right when we marched onto that, it just swept in and we all
Hmm.
changed back into our rain gear. And we're just like, you got to be kidding me. And once again, I don't know the mileage from the hut to Lafayette, but we had a good march along the Garfield Ridge. And once again, time when there's thunderstorms, time is of the essence.
The bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskills.
What's going on, Henry? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Stosh. How are you?
Good, good. So I was going to wear my Guardian Revival shirt since I love that, or my Guardian Revival hat. But there's that saying, don't wear the shirt of the band you're going to go see.
Yeah, yeah.
So since we're talking about that, I didn't feel like I should wear that. That wouldn't be too much. So
You're very stylish, Stosh. That's
is that what you call me? Is that what I was like on the trail or something?
Yeah. High fashion, man. Got that trail fashion.
Good. So got a couple things that we got to go over for the Catskills. So we'll go over so it's the 16th right now. 2 days ago there was a rescue at Fawn's Leap again. So that's been a hot spot for rescues lately. And of course, it's the summer. People want to go swimming, stuff like that. It's just, I talked about this in my last episode is, we're veteran hikers. A lot of people that listen to the show are like good hikers and stuff like that. So they know that what they're getting into. So once again, this was probably an unprepared person or a person that just, want to take that cool risk of jumping off a big ledge or, one of the trees. Did you see that reel of the 80-year-old guy jumping off of the trees in the Catskills and stuff like that at Fawn's Leap?
No, I did not.
Oh, I'm going to have to find that. And I'm going to have to, there's like an 80-year-old guy jumping off Fawn's Leap, and then he jumps off another tree, and then he jumps off the top of the tree. It was insane. And, just crazy. So I just got word of this, like 2 days ago, or not even 2 days ago, but my friend Greg sent me that. So he's going to be on, he's been on the show and he's going to be on the show again. So another rescue at Fawn's Leap. And speaking of Fawn's Leap, unfortunately, we've had a death at Fawn's Leap. So on the 9th of August, 16-year-old jumped into Fawn's Leap off of the top spot, struggled with the current, and unfortunately couldn't get himself out of it. Heavy rainfall on the previous night created strong currents in the swimming hole. Ranger Dawson, who has been phenomenal. I'm pretty sure I talk about him on every part of my show. And he is, it's so crazy, but so sad that he is like doing like absolute double duty with this. And, he jumped 30 feet into the water hole and got pulled by the current. A member of another group called 911. Place is hot, so luckily I had people around. They arrived at like 4 p.m. and Dawson entered the water with a 7-foot-long rescue pole, but was unable to find the subject. New York State Police diver searched the area opposite side of the water hole and found the subject 5 feet pinned against the ledge. He was declared deceased by a Green paramedics. So our thoughts go to this boy's family and their relatives and stuff. Once again, it might be cool to jump in off of a ledge or something like that, in the 30 feet of water or something like that, or 30-foot ledge, be cool. But sometimes it's not worth it. I recently visited the Blue Hole after some rain, and I was just like, that current looks strong. I don't want to participate in this. And my nephew was like, I want to jump in. I'm like, absolutely not. You're not jumping into that crap. But
yeah, you got to be careful when the currents are strong. I mean, we talked a little bit when I was on your show last time, some of the stuff we saw in the PCT, but even, it can be a pretty short waterfall. There's something called like a hydraulic, or they'll call them a washing machine, where when you have water falling down from even just a couple of feet, let alone 30 feet, it goes down and the water pushes down to the bottom of the creek bed. It comes back up behind the waterfall and then pushes down when it hits the waterfall, and you'll get caught in a tumble. And that's super dangerous. That's something kayakers have to be real careful who do whitewater stuff. But, the waterfall could be like 2 feet and you can get caught in something like that. So have fun, go swimming, but be careful with quick water. It's no joke. Dangerous stuff.
And Henri is with us tonight, and he was on episode 57 of doing the Triple Crown and talking about his through hikes, and he knows all about I would have to say it's rip current or strong currents, because he has been on the PCT and the CDT when there's high flow of water, and it's a real matter that you need to take into perspective, that it could cost you your life if you need to cross. So Henri has the input on that, and once again, our thoughts go out with the person who perished and their family. So another thing, so let's get on to this. I mean, it's I was going to say let's get on to a better topic, but it's not really a better topic. So my friend sent me this. Actually, he was previous on the episode. He's Dave Sar. He was on my SAR team, and David sent me an article that said, remains of a missing climber found 36 years later in melting Alps glacier. So the remains of a German mountaineer who had been missing for almost 4 decades were discovered in the melting ice just off the Matterhorn mountain this month, the Swiss police said. So crazy. Let's see. Climbing rose clay costs in a singular black boot with crimson laces, well preserved from year in the ices and snow. And so he was 38 years old when he perished back in 1986. So the bodies of the police said the bodies of mountaineers whose disappearance was reported decades are increasingly turning up due to the receding glaciers. Once again, that is due to, of course, climate change, and people, have back and forth opinions about climate change and stuff like that. I mean, we're seeing it. I think we're getting more details of it nowadays than we are previously before. But the Matterhorn, 14,600 feet, very tough. A lot of people do this as their intro to mountaineering with guides and stuff like that. So it said as of 2011, 500 people are estimated to die of attempted to climb it. So it's definitely a crazy peak. And of course, with the receding glaciers 36 years later. So that means who knows how many inches of snow that guy was buried in when he perished, and that they found him now 36 years later. So crazy stuff. What do you think of that, Henri?
It's pretty crazy. I saw that article too.
Okay. Yeah, it's messed up stuff. But it's real life, that climbing in the mountains, mountaineering. So at a certain elevation, a rescue cannot happen. On Everest, they always have it's not the death zone, but even above base camp is there just like, we're not going to rescue this body. It's not worth it. Mm-hmm. It's just, people will be like, we'll pay you money. No, it's not worth risking 2 or 3 other people going in with a helicopter, or 2 or 3 people climbing down one of these glaciers with, I forgot what that place is called, like Hillary Step or stuff like that. So no way that they would do that. And unfortunately, he was found 36 years later on a glacier going up Matterhorn. So crazy stuff. So, other than that, there's not that much crazy news. You know, it's funny. My friend Tad, I talk with him back and forth on Instagram, sent me articles about some forest ranger activity in the Catskills, and you know, I kind of fell for this, and I feel like an idiot. And he sent me a bunch of different things, and it said, so in the town of Olive in Ulster County, wilderness investigation on August 11th, 4:30 p.m., Forest Ranger Russell Martin responded to a report given by hikers from New Jersey who claimed they saw two animals attacking a juvenile bear about 50 yards off the Ashokan High Point Trail. The hikers reported the aggressive animals were larger than a bobcat and appeared to be mountain lions. From the description provided, Ranger Martin concluded that the animals were likely eastern cougars. Imprints and tracks were taken to DNA samples from the killed bear's jugular vein and were sent to Cornell Wildlife Health and Lab for testing and evaluation. I fell for it.
Yeah. What date was that published? April 1st?
I know, right? That he put on there. He didn't August 11th. So he put it on there. Like I get the DEC reports every Tuesday, I believe, is when they come out, and I check them out. But this one, he sent me this right after the DEC, so I checked it out, and I checked out his stuff, and I was like, no way, this is bullshit. And the funny thing is I have Ranger Martin's, I have his email contact, I have his phone number and stuff like that, because we've been on a couple of searches together actually, and he is a fantastic dude, coolest guy, you know, smooth, laid back guy, professional as they can be. He is there to help you 100%, and he is the coolest dude. But I was just like, I gotta send him a message. So I sent him a message and I go, what's up with the mountain lions on the Ashokan High Point? I didn't get anything back, and I sent a message to my friend Tad, and he was just like, dude, that was fake. And I was like, damn it. Felt like an idiot. I was like, I fell for it. What an idiot. So no, I'm sorry about that.
Just more proof, man. They're out there. I believe.
You believe, Henry. I know you believe. Yeah. You've actually probably encountered some on your hikes out west. So,
yeah, pretty close.
Pretty close. So, excellent. Welcome everybody to episode 88 of Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast. Tonight, Henry and I are going to be here to discuss our time on the Pemi Loop hike in New Hampshire. So, back in, was it mid June. Yeah. Mid June. Before that, Henry invited me on a hike to the Pemi Loop, which is a around 32 to 34 mile hike in the Pemigosset Wilderness in New Hampshire. And I was like, hell yeah, you know what? My wife can actually accept this because there's a bunch of people going on. Henry's going to be leading the way. There's another guide on the way. So yeah, let's do this. Go on it. It was crazy and insane. And we'll talk about it tonight. And hopefully Henry has some good stories as much as I do. So welcome to the show, Henry.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking out your time. When is your wife due, by the way?
We are due for our first October 26th. So
I
thought around the corner.
Yeah, I thought it was September. So I was just like, man, she's letting him do this crap, and I was like, man, I thought it was very, very much closer than that. So okay, good. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So also thank you to the monthly supporters, Darren White, Vicky Ferrer, John Comiskey, Jim C., Michael Bongder, Dave Mead, and Matt Smith and Sharon Clyde. Thank you very much for donating the show. Also check out Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She is also an officiant for getting married and a licensed guide, but she is also a story maker. Molly won't give you just photos. She'll give you memories that will last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, or even brush up on some of your old skills in the backcountry? check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school located in New Jersey. Scott and Joe from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team have amazing backgrounds in wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, and mountain rescue association, and they are here for you to learn old and new skills of hiking and backpacking. They teach anything from first aid, map and compass, and many other skills that can help you and others while out on the trail. Check them out on their website and all social media platforms. They also have events. Saturday, 8/26, a free guided hike up the Wyandotte High Point Trail, and also 8/27 Sunday, backpacking essentials trading. So another great times with the Trailbound Project. So, Henry, you having anything to drink tonight, sir?
No, boring tonight. Just water.
Oh man,
I came ill prepared. I was a little too busy to go grab something fun.
you're always busy, so I shall allow it. I shall allow it. So you're always a busy guy, and the stuff you do is amazing, and I really appreciate your guiding stuff because I see your stories all the time, and
Thank you.
it's crazy that you're just getting caught up with everything, and I see all your posts in the past few days, and you've been busy the past couple months.
Oh yeah. It's been a pretty busy summer, but I like that. It's been fun. It's all time outside, so I cherish every moment.
I sure hope so. Like sometimes we don't cherish the moments, and hopefully you did when we were on the Pemi Loop.
Oh, every second. I've learned all about type 2 fun, which we'll talk about more later, I have a feeling.
I could have only imagined you have killed type 2 fun probably in beyond the limits at all. So you been any previous hikes, Henry, you want to talk about? Also, insert your stuff about West Mountain Guide Company when you talk about these hikes. Okay, I'll let that part out.
Yeah. So I think probably the most interesting thing I went on recently was I went out to the Fjallraven Classic in Colorado. Are you familiar with that brand?
I am not. Please go on.
They do a lot of heavy duty hiking backpacking equipment. I think they're probably best known for their clothing and their tiny backpacks, like their school bags. They make these little square bags. Once you see one, you see them all over the place. But I've been doing work with them through my company, West Mountain Guide Co., for probably 5 or 6 years now. So I'm one of their North American ambassadors. They call us guides. It's a pretty sweet deal. I do special events with them a few times a year, I think quarterly, and they give me a lot of equipment, which is great because with guiding, you go through a lot of stuff, and having heavy duty equipment is nice. When I do the long through hikes, usually I'm going as lightweight as possible, but when you're out there every weekend, you got to have stuff that will last a little bit longer. But anyway, they flew me out to Colorado to do this event called the Classic, which is basically like backpacking summer camp for adults. So I flew into Denver and hitched a ride in the airport out to Boulder, and then caught a shuttle out to this mysterious field that they rented that they called the Trekkers Inn. I don't know if it was actually associated with an inn or not, but we took another shuttle out from there up to what was the pass called? Rollins Pass, which has some pretty cool historic and even indigenous history around it, and did a 3-day, 30-mile backpacking trip. Got to see some alpine lakes. 30 miles out there, even up at, close to 12,000 foot elevation, was a lot easier than 30 miles in New Hampshire. So don't let elevation make you think that it's going to be harder. I think I was done with those 10 miles by about, noon or 1 o'clock each day versus our 12-hour daily hiking out there in the White Mountains. But that was really cool. It's fun being up above tree line for a while. I guess they've had a pretty wet summer, so the wildflowers were really pretty amazing. The last day I walked by this meadow where I saw more hummingbirds at one time than I ever have before. There was probably 20 or 30 of them flitting around in in the field. I looked up, I think a group of hummingbirds is called a sparkle or a sparkling of hummingbirds.
Nice.
Pretty magical. But they're aggressive little birds. They're kind of mean. Yeah.
I could
Watch out for those
imagine.
guys. Yeah, but that's the last thing I did. Or well, no, I've done some more since that, but that's the last real interesting one I went out on.
I mean, anything you go on, Henry, is interesting. So what was that company called again?
Fjall Raven or Fjall Raven.
Okay, and that they flew you out there and did your stuff because you were a sponsor, kind of like a sponsor of them or a representative.
Yeah, it's like an ambassador thing.
Ambassador.
You know, it's I do events for them. So I've done like backpacking 101. I've done intro to wood carving in their stores. We do during the pandemic, back when I lived down in the city, we did urban hiking and kind of showing people how they could scavenger hunt, different parks and murals and statues in the city to like still get outside when, we weren't really able to do that very well. So I've been working with them for a pretty long time. They've been very good to me.
Awesome. That seems fantastic.
Yeah.
How was acclimating from, I mean, I know you usually acclimate. How many days did you have to acclimate from Denver to up to, 12,000 feet?
Like a day and a half.
Okay.
So I would have preferred to have gone up there a little bit earlier. Fortunately, I was fine. I've have experience up at high elevation, but that doesn't really mean anything if you don't acclimate. And even people who are well acclimated, I've heard of climbing guides who've worked out there for, decades. Like one day they just get, high altitude sickness. It kind of hits you out of nowhere. So I think there's a lot of factors, but I got lucky. I was only up there for about a day and a half and I didn't get too many symptoms, minus being real short of breath.
Yeah. Awesome. I saw your post and I was very intrigued by it. I was very interested in what you were doing because it looked as cool as heck. Because how many people were involved in this activity?
So they split it up between two different groups. The first one I think was 90 people, and we left on, I want to say it was Monday or Tuesday, and the next group left the day after us. But I usually hiked with one or two, I think 3 other people at the most. It wasn't until like in the afternoons at camp that you even really saw very many people. So, they had to work with the Forest Service to do that big of a group. So they have, rules on staggering. So, they didn't drop 90 people off at the trailhead at one point. They put people, 45 minutes between each other. But, it was a fun opportunity to get to know some of the people that were around. I'll tell you what, I didn't realize how many people were there until the second night they did a catered dinner. So a truck like drove up to the campsite where we were and set up a lasagna station, which was it was pretty cool.
It's like cows getting into the hay and stuff like that.
Yeah, for real. Fortunately I had set up my tent not terribly far from where they were doing dinner. So I heard the caterer say, "Hey, we're ready early. Like if you want to start getting people together, we can start this thing now." So I was like, "Oh boy, I'm getting in the line." So I was sitting there looking at my plate when I saw 90 people show up behind me. But yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, it was like summer camp. It was pretty fun.
That's pretty cool, man. That's incredible. 90 people sounds like a typical group on Giant Sledge.
Yeah, no joke. That's a quiet day.
Right. So did you were there any like summits of like 12,000 or 14,000 footers, or was it just like a backpacking hike that they planned?
Yeah, it was a backpacking hike. There were a couple cool lakes. We went to there's Yankee Doodle Lake, Corona Lake, a couple other ones, but those high alpine lakes are pretty cool to check out. I got a fishing license and brought my Tenkara rod and caught some tiger trout up there, which was pretty cool. You don't see those too often. So No like big summits, but it did cross over the Continental Divide Trail. So that
Ah,
was a pretty nostalgic moment to cross over that and look both ways and be like, man, that was a hell of a journey to have done. So it was neat to see that again.
told people like I've freaking been here. I've done this before.
Yeah. Talk about a long backpacking trip.
Yeah, 30 miles compared to 2000. What was it? 2000 something 600?
2,850 was the route that I did.
God damn, man. And I was complaining on 30 miles, man. I feel bad.
Hey man, that was a that was a pretty hard 30 miles.
Okay. Well, good. At least you say that. So, thank you, Henry, for your previous hike stuff. That's great stuff. And you got some stuff coming up. I'm going to post your West Mountain Guide Company. You got some kayaking stuff coming up. I know canoeing and kayaking and Adirondacks. So, Henry does a guide company called West Mountain Guide Company. Awesome stuff. He was involved in the Pemi hike that we did. So Henry is top of the notch shit. I hate to say that. I hope your company doesn't mind me saying that, but Henry is at the top of my list of the people I can trust while backpacking, and I will trust definitely while backpacking. He had no problem with expecting my horrible, disgusting feet. Yeah, on the top.
They weren't nearly as bad as I've seen. So,
but God, that's disgusting. All right, so I went to previously. I went to the Peekamoose Blue Hole area. My nephew wanted to see a plane crash, so I took him up in that area because it wasn't that bad. And from our last hike, we went up to the North South Lake area, and he kept saying, he loved my episode on plane crashes. So I was just like, I'm going to take this kid. He's 13 years old. 12, 13 years old, I think. And he, kids with this day and age, they always get the technology. They don't get out as much as they should. And I was like, I will introduce this guy to hiking, to not backpacking, but, day hikes, stuff like that. Maybe it would influence him to get out more, to pursue hiking and backpacking, to maybe even influence him to become what in his career, maybe like I was pushing on a lot on the forest rangers. I was like, hey, you could be out here all the time, not only enforcing the law, but you can be hiking and rescuing people, saving people's lives, and doing the different things. So I took him out to the Blue Hole area, got a permit, of course. I don't know if it's the 50 permits per day or 75 permits per day now. I'm not quite sure, but we got a permit and we parked at one of the lower areas, went up, saw the plane crash. My wife was with me, Jessica. We did a little bushwhacking. She got her real, somewhat first taste of bushwhacking in the rain and stuff with, saplings hitting their face and some slippery rocks and slippery leaves. She wasn't too pleased with it, but she said it was pretty cool to come up upon something besides like a canister and something that's historic and has been there since the 1960s is when this crash happened. So little brief history as this crash happened was a mafia member. He flew up. It wasn't confirmed a mafia member, but this was in the trooper reports that he crashed. He survived. He was suspended in the air and he had his seatbelt on, so he couldn't get out. He was injured. A local person came up and said, we need to get the troopers and the rangers up here to escort you out. And he said that I would prefer not, but he goes, since I'm injured, yeah, I guess we're going to have to do it. So when they were bringing him out on the litter, he said, hey, there is a briefcase in there. If you could bring it back with me and not open it at the same time, that would be fantastic. And of course there was troopers there. So they look at the rangers and they're like, okay. They go and get it. They open it up in front of them and it's $60,000 of cash. So crazy story. And we went up there and checked it out. My nephew was like, wow, this is incredible. Where's this? Where's that? We were looking all around at different things. My wife was just like, wow, I can't believe, I think this was my 19th or 20th crash that I've been to in the Catskills. So just imagine that. And he had a great time. We went down to the Blue Hole, talked with the this trailhead stewards and stuff. And I actually, the second parking area, I cleaned up about a bag of trash. Unfortunately, which is really sad, and this area could probably fit 6 cars. That's really sad that, a contractor bag, 33 gallons, could be filled halfway. And one of the rangers was there, was like, you need to throw that out over there. I'm like, oh, I cleaned this up from the trailhead area. And the guy was just like, oh, Jesus, thank you so much. He's very appreciative and very thankful that I did that. And so was the stewards from the Catskill Center. So we went down the blue hole. The current was crazy because of the rain before. My nephew wanted to jump in. It was like, I remember reading from the previous night that it was 56 degrees. So that was cool. But there was still people swimming in there. Unfortunately, there was graffiti here and there. There was some trash here and there, but not as bad as I've seen it. I went there, God, I can't remember, 2017, 2018, and barely anybody was there, but there was trash everywhere. So I couldn't even imagine what it was like in the COVID days. So cool day. Wasn't really a blue hole. It was more like a black hole because of how fast the running water was. It wasn't brown like I have up here in my area up in Susquehanna where there's silt and everything. So it was still pretty clear water. So it was a good day. Didn't rain. Sprinkled here and there, beautiful 65 to 670 degrees, sweating. That push of getting sweat, but also not over sweating feels really fantastic. Henry, you've probably been through that crazy amount of times.
Yeah, I haven't been up there in a long time. I don't think I've been up there since the dumpsters went in.
Oh, yeah, see? So, I mean, before that time, it was pretty nice.
Yeah. You went up during the week? Maybe I already said that.
Tuesday. Yep. I went up Tuesday, which was a day ago. Yesterday, 8:15.
Oh.
So
that's the time to go.
It cost $10 to go there, but it's well worth it if they put there. So they have a new unit management plan for the Pikamoose Blue Hole area. It's a tough situation. Henry, you probably know this with different events going on in different areas. Stuff is getting bigger, stuff is getting more popular and stuff like that. So they need to make it more of recreational area. And this place is a very popular spot. So they're expanding parking areas, they're expanding camping areas. Once at a time we used to hike Pikamoose Mountain and we could park there easily within a day or a weekend and stuff like that. And now you have to get a permit for it. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. And, we've seen it all over the place, not just here, the Adirondacks, up in the White Mountains and different areas like that. So, but it was a great day. Whatever. I was out in the woods. That's all I care about. So previously, my friend came up this weekend. His name was Chad. He suggested that I do some gear review. So I got to make a little snippet for this. So Henry and I are going to do a quick gear review. So when I did the Pemi loop with Henry, I bought a new sleeping bag and I was very excited about this. It's called the Nemo Riff Raff sleeping bag. I am not a coffin sleeping bag kind of guy. I cannot sleep feeling like I'm dead. I've tried it before several times out in the Catskills. I tried it at the Adirondacks. I can't. So I looked into side sleeping and, like a lot of leg space area. And I found this Nemo Riff Raff 15-degree sleeping bag. I was contacting Henry back and forth and he says, Nemo is a very reliable brand. And definitely if you get a good deal, get it. So I got it. 100% satisfied. I could sleep on my side and stretch my legs and everything like freaking crazy. When we were up there, it was probably, what did the lowest get? Probably like 50 degrees. It wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I think 50s.
Yeah. So I was a little worried that it would get down to the 40s or maybe even lower than that, but nothing hit that. And I was comfortable. I was in and out of the bag. They have these little things on the front that you can open up that ventilates the sleeping bag, and 100% worth the money. And I will post the link in the show notes. If you are a side sleeper or if you do not like coffins, I suggest this 100%. You can go wide or anything like that. And it's just fantastic sleeping bag. It's definitely worth the money. What's Henry told me this, and several other people have told me this: buy once, cry once, and I did. But I didn't cry. I actually was like, okay, that crying is worth it. I was satisfied.
Did you get the was that a down or a synthetic model?
Synthetic.
Okay, that's good. That was good, especially for what we were dealing with. Yeah, Nemo makes a lot of really good products. I know in the long distance backpacking community, some of their tents are pretty popular. So
I'm gonna have to check those out.
Yeah, they seem to kind of hit a good balance of weight and actual coverage and comfort.
Cool. Yeah, I said I highly suggest that. So, Henry, what do you got to for a gear review?
Oh, I had a hard time choosing. I was between what I wrote here on our list. I might just do two. I'm gonna do one in a shout out.
Do two. Do two.
So mine, one of my favorite. Both of these are part of the kitchen, which I feel like having a solid camp kitchen is great because when you're at the end of a hard day, you want something that's going to be easy to set up and be able to cook yourself a quick meal, or if you're just on a day hike, do a coffee or something. But this is kind of a boutique company, I think. I don't know how big they are, but they make a product called the Caldera Cone. And I use the Caldera Cone stove system on all four of the big through hikes that I've done. And basically what it is a titanium windscreen that you can kind of curl up. They have a few different models. The Tri is one that fits inside of a pot, so it nests together, keep everything, nice and compact. But it's a windscreen made out of titanium that has holes punched at strategic places so you get good airflow, but your pot sits inside of the windscreen to maximize the fuel efficiency of your stove. Usually when you're using these things, you're using either an alcohol stove or an Esbit stove. Alcohol stoves, for people who don't know, is you use something like a little pre-made stove, or some people will use a cat food can. You can make an alcohol stove out of a couple of soda cans. They call them penny stoves. And you take it, you pour a little denatured alcohol. You can use like antifreeze for a car, which is easy to buy at gas stations, which for long distance backpacking, you need to use a fuel that's readily available. I've used isopropyl alcohol, which is not great, but works on the Florida Trail when I learned that gas stations don't sell antifreeze. Surprise, surprise. But they're just a really great, very lightweight way to carry a cook system, and super compact too. Oh, the other nice thing about it is that they convert into a wood burning stove too. So you can use the cone with some, you gotta leave no trace. Don't set up on a bunch of pine duff. You want to set up on a durable surface. Or they I don't own it, but I know they sell some kind of screen you can put on the ground. I'm sure you could use tin foil or something, but you can make a little twig stove underneath, which I've had to do a few times when I had food that had to be cooked and I'd run out of fuel in a long stretch. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, that's a Caldera Cone Tri, and they make them to fit a bunch of different types of pots. So, if you have a cook pot that you already really like, you can go and see if they make a windscreen to fit that particular pot type, which is pretty cool.
Where did you find that?
Let's
see. Were you out in the trail and you found this, or you researched it? How the hell did you find that? A windscreen. So you must have dealt, of course, with wind back probably in the Continental Divide and the Pacific Crest, right?
Oh yeah. It's not too bad in the Appalachians because usually you have the choice to set up in the trees. But if you want to have dinner with a view, usually you're up high. So yeah, I've been using this system for about 8 years.
Wow.
So it's not a new piece of gear for me, but it's like tried and true. There is an excellent book I think I first picked it up at REI by an author called Mike Selland, who, I don't know, maybe you could try to get him on your show. He's a real interesting guy. He is like one of the granddaddies of ultralight backpacking. And I think his book is called like 101 Ultralight Tips and Tricks. And I recommend this to a lot of people who I help prepare for through hiking. So that's with my personal guiding company, we do through hiker preparation. So we'll help people train, select their gear, do logistics, all that stuff. And I always tell people, get this book first, because one of the first things it does is teaches you where can you cut weight without having to buy anything. Because that's one of the big barriers to ultralight backpacking is it's really expensive. And, you know, my first dive into alcohol stoves was from reading his book, where he taught you how to make a windscreen out of a piece of heavy duty grilling aluminum foil and a cat food can or a soda can.
Wow.
But he had mentioned this system in that book. And I eventually switched over to this. Having the wood burning mode was one of the big sellers for me. But that's where I heard of it.
All right.
But Mike Selland's an interesting guy. His specialty like floats between ultralight backpacking and UFOs.
I've circled it. I started. He's gonna be on the show. I will get him on here no matter what. So excellent. Yeah. What was your shout out to?
The infamous GSI pot scraper. This is a piece of gear that costs like $3 probably. It's made by GSI, which I think is probably best known for their, at least I know them best for their camp kitchen stuff. So they make utensils, they make pots, they probably make a stove, but their pot scraper is like, it's my fun piece of gear to pull out when people are like, all right, in all of your experience, like what is your favorite piece of equipment? The GSI pot scraper. So it's basically just a little two-sided spatula. It's like, I don't know, maybe 2 inches long. One side's hard and one side is like a soft silicone. So if you cook in your pot, you know, you finish your dinner and you're left with the dilemma of washing your dishes, which, you know, can be kind of a pain in the butt. You're never supposed to wash your dishes in a stream. You don't want to have food in a water source. So you're supposed to collect water in a clean pot, bring it 200 feet away from the water source, put your soap in, you know, use your sponge, clean out your pot and disperse your water or bury your water. And you're supposed to strain any food waste that you have so that you're not actually leaving big particles of food out there. So that sounds like a nightmare, right? No, that's where the GSI pot scraper comes in. You eat your whole meal with your spoon. You get to the end, you use that hard side to get any stuff that's kind of stuck to the bottom up. You eat it. Use the soft side, rub it around, get everything out of there. You eat it off the end of your spatula, put a little bit of water in there, swirl it around, drink it, because there's there are a couple calories left in there, and you know, nothing wrong with too much hydration. Now you have a clean pot. You never got out a sponge, never got out a bit of soap. So that's like a laziness and convenience one for me.
Holy shit. That's incredible. Is it worth the extra ounces though for a lightweight backpacker?
Yeah, I've always carried it. It's not even an ounce. I don't think. I would bet it's a, you know, you're in the grams still. So it's acceptable.
Wicked.
The convenience to weight is a perfect equation.
Sweet. That is fantastic. I've never heard of that. I don't plan on going backpacking soon, but I'm definitely going to look into that. So excellent. Thank you, Henry, for your amazing knowledge on your through hiking adventures that you probably experimented so many things, and this is coming to your top of your list. Once again, I will put these in the show notes and people can check them out. So thank you once again, Henry. So once again, Catskill News, volunteer 3500 Club, Catskills Trail Crew, Catskill Mountain Clubs, Visitors Center, anything you can do one day will make a difference in the trails anywhere you live in the United States or in the Northeast. Please volunteer, help us out. Also, I have still a lot of stickers, so let me know. My friend sent me 250 stickers, so I don't know how many I've gone through yet, but probably like 5 or 6. So let me know if you need any stickers, and I will send you them free of charge. All right, so Henry, how about we break into a little quick Catskill Mountain history time? Awesome. So I got this today. Once again, I am like slacking in this. I get to this like last second. So I found this out in one of the old Catskill unit management plans. And I recently read it 2008 and 1985, I believe. So it's not really history, but it's more of facts. So I'm going to read this off. So the 700,000 acre Catskill Park is divided into 4 management purposes: wilderness, wild forest, intensive use, and administrative. These recommended management classifications were ultimately incorporated in the 1985 Catskill Park State Master Plan and have been in use ever since. The master plan provides a management definition for each of the 4 preserved classifications. Wilderness areas are preserved as they now exist and are governed by nature. A short description of wilderness stated by New York State is an area where earth and its community of life are untrammeled by man, where man himself is a visitor and does not remain. Today, the Catskill Forest Preserve consists of approximately 119,000 acres of designated wilderness areas, such as Slide Mountain Wilderness, Indian Head Wilderness, West Kill Wilderness, and others. So basically Slide Mountain, Devil's Path, Hunter, Westkill, stuff like that. According to the Catskill State Master Plan, again, the management objective for the wild forest is to accommodate present and future public recreation needs in a manner that consists of state constitutions. In short, wild forest areas are defined as such section of forest preserve where the resource can sustain somewhat higher degree of human use than a wilderness area. It may contain within its bounds smaller areas of land or water that is essentially wilderness and character where the fragility of a resource or other factors require wilderness management. A wild forest area is further defined as an area which lacks sense of remoteness of wilderness areas, which permits a wilder variety of outdoor recreation. Today, the Catskill Forest Preserve consists of approximately 157,000 acres of designated wild forests, such as Rusk Mountain Wild Forest, Hawkett Mountain Wild Forest, and Sundown. So basically, almost, I would say, your bushwhacks. So intensive use areas are defined as in the master plan as the location where the state provides facilities for higher concentrated forms of outdoor recreation, including facilities designed to accommodate significant numbers of visitors, such as campgrounds, ski centers, and visitor information centers. These areas provide congregations and or accommodations for visitors to the park and sometimes function as a base for the day of a wild forest or wilderness area hike. Today, the Catskill Forest Preserve consists of a little less than 6,000 acres of designated intensive use areas. Areas like this include the Beaver Trail Campgrounds, North South Lake Campground, Woodland Valley area, and other playgrounds and campgrounds and such. Now, administrative areas include 3 small properties that lie within the boundary of the Catskill Park, but are which are acquired for purposes other than inclusion in the Catskill Forest Preserve. And these places, which are under jurisdiction of the New York State DEC, include Vinegar Hill Wildlife Refuge, the Simpson Ski Slope Parcel, and the Catskill Mountain Fish Hatchery to Brews an environmental education camp. Oh, that was horrible. And in the Beaver Hill area, which provides for more trout fishing and stuff like that. These areas basically have been in since 1985, but in 2008, they had a new unit management plan of the Catskill Parks, and it included primitive bicycle corridors, which were introduced into the master plan. So Mink Hollow primitive bicycle corridor, Dutcher Knots primitive bicycle corridor, and other examples of bicycle corridors. Like I think there's one over in Wyndham High Peak area, stuff like that. So crazy stuff that probably a lot of people don't know about what sections are divided in. You see Slide Mountain Wilderness, you see Wild Forest, intensive areas you don't really see that much of, but the different areas of the Catskills are not equally divided, but they are sectioned off into 5 different sections. So crazy stuff from 1985 and 2008 that a lot of people probably didn't know. And I read this in the old management plan and the unit management plan that I just downloaded for absolutely no freaking reason. I just had an idea and I decided that maybe at 1:00 in the morning, I'd like to check this out. I don't sleep much. So
Yeah, it's good when you're researching where you're going to go is looking up what kind of management area you're in, because some of them do have different rules. Like group sizes, especially with camping, wild forest, and I think the wilderness are both going to be different versus, some of the recreational areas like the group campgrounds.
correct. And the group sizes also differentiate in the wilderness areas and the wild forest areas too. So in the wilderness areas, of course, you got to have a limited group size, where in the wild forest, it's a little bit more lenient toward bigger groups. But once again, as a description of the areas, the wild forest and the wilderness areas are different because one is to remain what it was like, and the one is to maybe enhance back and forth areas of what it could be or what it used to be. So really weird stuff. So let's get on to our sponsors, and then we'll go on to our guest and chat of the night. So is it time for new gear and hiking in the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs: footwear, socks, moisture wicking shirts, freeze dried meals, Catskill merchandise, and more. They have all the essentials for your hiking needs. Located in Tannersville and online, check out Camp Catskill in Tannersville. Also, if you're ready to hit the trails, make sure you take the scenic route. Scenic route guidings are here to help you with your goals, big or small, like Marcy or Slide or Lone or the Stewards. Check out Scenic Route Guiding and Gear Rentals on Instagram and Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code word Mountain Lion. All right. So let's get on to the guest / discussion of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight I have my friend here, Henri de la Vega. He is here to talk about our Pemi Loop experience in the New Hampshire area in the Pemigosset Wilderness. So welcome to the show again, Henri.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's good to have you back, and I'm glad we can get this discussion, because some people have been asking about this, and I've been wanting to talk about this. It's tough to do it by yourself. You gotta admit, it's especially to make it published, and to have somebody along that was with you the whole way there, the whole way around, and to get a different kind of perspective than my little wussy perspective that I have. So, little background: Henri, back in late April, I believe, asked me if I wanted to go on a hike in the New Hampshire area called the Pemigosset Wilderness Hike, the Pemi Loop. And he said it's around, a little over 30 miles, 32 to 34 miles. And I was like, hell yeah, this would be a great time to get a little taste of something other than the Catskills. And backpacking. I've been backpacking before, but it's only like 1 or 2 nights and stuff like that. Nothing crazy, Catskill stuff. And Henri's a licensed guide. I decided to go yes. And I said yes. And we had several Zoom meetings before then. One of them was when I was down in South Carolina, probably like 3 days prior, relaxing and drinking on the beach. And I was just like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I should have prepared for this. So tonight we're going to talk about our experience on the Pemigosset Loop, which wasn't 100% pleasant. It was definitely once again, it was a very difficult time for me, at least 75% of the time. I don't know about Henri, how he felt, because he's been through this shit before. So, we're going to chat about this tonight. So once again, Henri, thank you for joining the show. Let's give a little background about yourself, and we'll get on with the discussion.
Yeah, so I am based in the Hudson Valley of New York. I have a guiding company, West Mountain Geico, and I have done a lot of really long backpacking trips. I got into the outdoors as a kid in the Scouts, and kind of wandered away from it in my college years pursuing music. And when music didn't really go super well for me up here in New York, I decided that I would go back to my roots of spending time in the outdoors. And that, when I was in not a great place, I found a lot of, relief in spending time outside. Going on day hikes and backpacking trips eventually led to doing kind of a slightly more extreme, 5 to 6 month long backpacking trips. And when my wife and I got back from our second through hike after the Pacific Crest Trail, we decided that we really wanted to start bringing other people out into the woods to see if we can offer some of what we gained from spending time in the backcountry to other people. A lot of what we did in the very beginning after we got licensed and started guiding was actually free public transit hikes that we would do from New York City. And, in our first couple of years, we introduced dozens of people who'd grown up in the city and who had never been outside of anything but like Central Park or a neighborhood park before to to some of the hikes out here in the Hudson Valley, and it was super rewarding seeing that. And we decided that we wanted to develop that into even more of a lifestyle and career, and that kind of got me to where I am today.
Nice. And just to let you know, Henry didn't add this in. I don't know why. He says he's through hiked, but he's done the Triple Crown, the Continental Divide, the Pacific Crest, and the Appalachian Trail. So each one of those are over 2,000 miles long. And once again, like I can't say anything. It's freaking insane. I don't know how you can do that crap. It's crazy. And the stuff he's been through, check out episode 57. Henry talks about his Triple Crown. And it is absolutely amazing to hear the stuff he's been through. So this is, I wouldn't have to, I mean, this is nothing compared to him, to what he's been through.
Oh,
So,
it was a pretty tough one. That it sat up at the top of some of the harder days. So
good. That's good to know. At least like I'm not the wuss here. So let's talk about I don't know how to say that. Like the company that offered this, is it another summit, Guardian Revival?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've mentioned my company, but I do have a full-time job, and that is working for an amazing organization called Guardian Revival. And I'll backpedal a little bit. When Lauren and I moved up here to the Hudson Valley a few years ago, which we did for her job, she got a job up here in Cold Spring as an art therapist after graduating with her master's a few years ago. We actually had a big search and rescue event that happened up here in Hudson Highlands State Park, where I think they had West Point come in. I think even New Jersey Search and Rescue came in to do some high angle work. And this happened. We started getting all sorts of friends were sending us these newspaper articles about this happening right here in our backyard. Lauren and I decided, we want to get involved with helping with search and rescue. We're both guides. We're comfortable navigating off trail. We're comfortable hiking in the dark. How can we get involved in this? And found out that it was our local volunteer fire department. So we both joined the fire department and started doing trainings through them to be a part of their search and rescue, which now, we're both volunteer firefighters as well. But our president of the fire department just happened to be the director of this interesting program called Another Summit. And the long story short is, I went meeting up with him, talking about the program, to becoming a volunteer hike leader. Then they hired me on as a part-time employee to help develop some more programs for them. And now I'm the deputy program director of Another Summit. And we're doing these really cool adventures specifically for the veteran and first responder communities. So Guardian Revival is a non-for-profit with the goal to revive and preserve the mental health and well-being of veterans and first responders. Like, that's the mission statement. The organization is divided up into 4 branches. We have Boots and Paws, which is a companion dog division. So, someone who's qualified can apply and be awarded a companion dog. So they get paired with the dog. They get to take it home. We provide about, I think, a year of support. So they do training, veterinary care, they give all the supplies, pet insurance, they do follow-ups, things like that. We have another division called Encore, which is a music program. So they do jam sessions here in the Hudson Valley and in New York City. They do free music lessons. They do retreats that are led by music therapists. And they have a program where someone can come to them and get assistance writing a song, having it professionally recorded, produced, and then published.
Wow.
And we have a Spotify that some of that stuff is available for people to listen to. There's another division called G Connect, and this is they do peer support. They do different experiences, provide resources. Some of the experiences they do are like art therapy, equine therapy. They do educational events, host group discussions, and those ones, I think, kind of the highlight is that they have a really highly trained peer leaders. So, those leaders are someone that, you could reach out to personally and have a relationship with. And then there's the group that I work for, which is Another Summit. And what we do is structured hiking, walking, backpacking, and paddling events. So we take people of the veteran and first responder community out into the backcountry to do all levels of outdoor experiences and try to provide, I think what we got, which was, a sense of satisfaction and teamwork and overcoming hard things together.
Agreed. And once again, I knew about Another Summit. I knew about Guardian Revival, but I didn't know that much depth of information. And once again, I'm at a loss for words for the help that you do for these people, for the first responders, for our veterans that are sometimes scarred with their background, but they can find this activities that you guys do, music, hiking, just, talking, that could help them through their hard times. And I got to admit, Henry, I'm a musician. I am a hiker and stuff like that. And this helps me through my difficult times. And, PTSD is real, and, if you guys want an experience out there, please get a hold of Another Summit, get a hold of Guardian Revival, get a hold of West Mountain Guide Company, and they will, help you any way possible to get you through these hard times, or even just to get by, just to have an experience with your fellow veterans or your fellow first responders. I had a fantastic experience with these guys that I never met in my life. I met Henry over Zoom. I got to meet him face to face when we did the gear check, and that was phenomenal just to see him. And once again, it brings a warm feeling to my heart over the stuff that we can do together out in the recreational areas to help people through their lives. So thank you, Henry. Once again, that's an awesome description of what you do. And it's an awesome thing of what you do.
Yeah, thank you. And that, that was the quick nitty gritty, but if people are interested, they could go to guardianrevival.org and there's a lot of information on there. And we invite friends and family of veterans and first responders to join too. So if you know someone who you think you would benefit from this, you can come out and do something with them. And none of this is the cure, but these experiences, it adds a lot of enrichment, and I do think that it makes a big difference. A big difference.
Could offer relief. That's
That's
the way I see it. So once again, how many people do we have on this hike? Was it 12 total?
On our group?
Yeah.
We had 10 participants, and then we had 2 support members who are down at base camp in case we need any help.
So 10 people on the hike, 2 people down at base camp to help out. So I arrived the day before and I met Henri for the first time face to face. I mean, he was on the show before and it was great to meet him. Met him down in the pouring rain on the day before. I wouldn't say it was pouring, but it was raining. And that started off everything great. The fortunate thing, they were offering a place to stay at the Lincoln Woods campground. And I decided to decline. I'm like, I'm staying in a warm place. I'm getting a great night of sleep and I'm going to prepare for this. So before that, Henri did a gear check of my pack and everything like that. Like I said, I've been on backpacking before, but nothing extensive to this, nothing like I'd be 10 to 20 miles away from something. And that I would forget something or something I would just shed off. So Henri goes through, checks my gear, sheds off a couple things that I'd never thought would be, be able to check out. Like he's like, hey, this bag for your campground or your camping cooking stuff, you can shed that off. It's a couple ounces. Or this shirt, you won't need it. It's a couple ounces. And different things was really cool to see. I'm just like, and then I'm staring at him. I'm like, really? You really think that I should do this? And then I'm like, once again, this guy has been thousands upon thousands upon thousands of miles with me. I'm just like, trust this guy. So Henri does a gear check the day before. I go back. Henri just stays at the campground. I go back to my hotel and I got freaking everything laid out on the bed, get everything ready. And the funny thing is the night before I had to go through my current podcast. So I'm sitting there watching, I'm pretty sure it was like Jackass or something, or The Office, one or the other. And I had to go through my podcast, but I'm like every 10 minutes, I'm looking over at my stuff, making sure I have everything correct for this hike, because I don't want to be that idiot that forgets anything. But Henri was there. And we also had Mark Rolland. Is that his name?
Yeah, Mark Rollins.
Mark is a badass. Let me just say that. He's a badass. He is a freaking crazy guy that will lead you through anything with a good attitude. So he was there as well. So Henri, let's talk about day one. So we start off at the Lincoln Woods Trailhead and we head to the Giat shelter. You want to add any information to that?
Yeah, I think it was really nice that our start of that hike, at least when we were leaving the parking lot, was in beautiful weather. we had pretty nice temperatures. Folks started, a good number of people stayed in the area the night before. A few traveled day of to Lincoln Woods, but we had everyone show up. We did a few more gear shakedowns, which those shakedowns, that's just to make sure people have what they need and they don't have anything that they don't. And I think, did we give you a trash compactor bag to line the inside of your pack, or did you already bring one?
Yes, good point. Go over that real quickly again about my bag.
Yeah, so these are the reasons we like to do that stuff. Is I knew rain was in the forecast, even when it's not. Like this is like just one backpacking hack is you take a heavy duty compactor bag, like the same one you put bulky garbage in, and you put it on the inside of your backpack as a liner. And then you put everything else inside of there so that you have one extra layer of water protection, which is especially helpful if you're going to be in rain for multiple days. But we handed out some of those. We checked some packs. I think some sicko brought a scale. So we were able to start weighing our packs, which is, if you want anything to be in your head over the course of a difficult hike, it's how heavy your pack weighs. But then we set off in pretty good weather.
Yeah. Started off in good weather. We cross over the Pemi River. I think it's Pemi River or something like that. And it was a nice, awesome suspension bridge. We go on the long Lincoln Woods Trail that is basically an old railroad bed. So it was really, really cool to do that. And once we started our ascent up to Bond Cliff, it started to kind of sprinkle a little bit. We all stop. We get our kind of like rain gear on because, once you listen to the professionals and say, we want to be prepared for this, you don't want heavy stuff like that. We all put it on, and then we get a little bit further up and it starts kind of raining pretty progressively. And it somewhat doesn't stop. We're going up and up and up and stops and doesn't stop. So once again, was the first day was 10.2 miles, 3,900 feet of elevation gain, 2,000 footers. We summited Bond Cliff, Mount Bond, and passed. We passed on West Bond due to the weather because we were all sick and tired of it. But a lot of elevation gain. And, to be honest, I found this pretty not that bad in elevation gain because of the rocks are different up there in New Hampshire. They have actually it's like limestone and stuff. It's grippy compared to the stuff in the Devil's Path and stuff like that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely not easier is not the word, but it's more preferable to walk on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we got pretty lucky that first day, maybe even the first 2 days, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So putting on that rain gear early, I don't know about you, but my clothes were actually dry or somewhat dry at the end of the day. So I didn't have too big of a problem with sweating. And that first climb wasn't, it was a long climb, but it was pretty gradual.
Yeah.
Which I think was nice. So, it was not, we weren't exerting, we were exerting, but it wasn't anything too crazy. So we were able to keep our body temperature down pretty well.
Yeah. And once again, these are all troopers, not complaining at all, just going through it. Once again, I felt like the wuss complaining about everything because I do hiking basically because I love the views, and I knew we would have nothing today, and these guys are just trudging through it. They've probably been through the worst of the worst, being in the military and first responders and stuff. They were a little bit more advanced in the first responders in the military than I was. I was a search and rescue volunteer. Most of these people were firefighters in the military and stuff like that. So it was really, I really should just shut up and suck it up is basically what I should have done. But I was just like, man, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. Henri said he was pretty dry, but I don't know if either I was sweating too much or if my rain jacket from freaking North Face didn't do well. I really think it was the rain jacket from North Face that didn't do well, and it wasn't breaking off all the rain that I hoped it would. But we got some pretty good, decent amount of rain through that first day, and we summited Bond Cliff and Mount Bond, and we hit the good old beautiful viewpoint of Bond Cliff that every human being talks about when they're in New Hampshire. And I think we got a little tiny view of that slide that looks over on Owl's Head. That was about it, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a cool viewpoint still, though. It was you saw the cliffs, but it was like basically a whiteout behind it, and you'd sit there and kind of look out, and then the wind would change, and all of a sudden you'd get like a bright patch of green. And I personally, maybe I've just learned how to like that stuff, but sometimes when you're up in that weird weather, it's like, oh yeah, you missed out on the iconic viewpoint, but you're seeing a really unique perspective of it, right? What did you think about that first view at Bond Cliff?
So once again, I'm all about the views. I mean, but I took a picture of, I think Joe was over on the edge of it, and it was pretty cool to see, kind of like I said, a strip or two of the slides, and I was pretty cool. And I love the winter weather because it feels different that you can survive in the winter. And I think in the summer I'm worried about the colder weather and the getting hypothermia a little bit, not quicker, but stuff like that. But we were all prepared and stuff like that. But I gotta admit, it was really cool to get above tree line and to travel with all you guys and to see that we're pushing through this kind of crazy weather. And we to be honest, we had to make time because what happens you're above tree line and the thunderstorm hits. You know, it's definitely a big risk. And Henry and Mark were well aware of that, and they were just like, we gotta move, we gotta keep ahead of this storm, we gotta get to the next shelter and stuff like that. So we summit Bond Cliff and Mount Bond. We sit there at the base of West Bond, and we're kind of all like, this is another 4,000 footer. Should we do it? It's a half a mile, so it's a total of a mile. We all kind of look at each other and we're like, screw this crap. Let's get down to the shelter. And this was hours upon hours. It didn't take 3 or 4 hours to get to this area. We were out there for pretty long. We started at what, like 9:30?
Yeah, I think we met at 9 and probably stepped off around 9:45.
And I don't remember the time we got to the Giat like turnoff, but
it must have been close to 5 at least, I think.
Yeah,
and the rain was coming down pretty good when we got into the camp too.
Yeah, and I remember when we were setting stuff up, we helped everybody out. You were helping everybody out. We were helping everybody trying to get their tents down because I knew my tent would be easy peasy 1, 2, 3 thing, and everybody got their stuff set up, and I was ready to get mine up. And Henry comes over and helps me out. I'm like, I got it, and he goes, "Wow, this is an amazing tent you have here." He's like, "What is this? Holy crap!" And I go, "Yeah, it's a really incredible tent. Check out the front. It shows it what it is." And what did I have on there?
Do you remember? Gosh, what's the brand?
It's a Walmart brand, Ozark Trail.
Ozark Trail, that's the one. Yeah, I when I saw that, I'm like, well, holy moly. That's I think it's based off an REI quarter dome tent, the quarter dome one. It was very nice. It held up pretty well for you because it rained all night. It rained through most of the night, right?
It was a Big Agnes. I remember I crossed that off and put the Big Agnes on there.
Oh yeah.
But so I got this tent for $10 at Walmart on clearance. And what I did was just like, I will seal this. I will seal all the seams. I will waterproof it. I will test it through the worst of the worst and see how it holds up. Never got any rain leaks or anything like that. The only shitty thing is that the interior is open. So when setting up, you have to set the interior. You might get a little rain on there. We had, I wouldn't say pouring rain, but we had a steady rain when we were setting stuff up. So everybody probably got a little bit of wet inside their thing. But, I had to set the shell up and then I had to set the outer shell and that got a little wet inside. But after that, like you said, I had a great experience in that $10 freaking one-person tent sitting on the edge of the rain, on the edge of the platform that we had to get like 3 or 4 more platforms because the Giat shelter was full. Joe got in there.
Yeah. So I think that was one of the big highlights of that night was that we got in and the caretaker was super nice. And I'll say Appalachian Mountain Club was very kind to sponsor our stays for this trip. So they waived the fees for both of our stays at the shelter and then at the hut the next night. So we thank them for that. But the caretaker, who happened to be at the campsite we stayed on at the first night, it somehow thought that we were going to fit a group of 10 people onto 2 tent platforms. So we were basically playing Tetris with tents, and ultimately had to go ask for another platform, and then we couldn't even fit the last 3 tents in there. So I ended up sharing a tent with Mark that night. who fortunately is also a snorer, so we canceled each other out. But poor Bill, who was set up next to us, I can't say the same for him.
Yeah, right. That was one. But the crazy thing is it was raining. Pretty sure, like almost like halfway through the night, we were making our food and stuff like that, and there must have been like 12 of us, even from other groups, just sitting in there looking at each other, man. Like, man, this sucks really bad. Like, not saying nobody's having a good time, but not everybody is happy, and we're all trying to cook dinner under this one little thing that's leaking rain. This one little tarp that's leaking rain onto our area that we're cooking. So we're just like pushing the water is, and I'm like I'm saying, I'm complaining about this, but I guarantee, Henry's been through worse, definitely. And these people that are on the Guardian Revival that are in this thing have been through worse. So I got to stop complaining. And um, I don't know. How did you sleep that night, Henry? Did you sleep good?
Yeah, I slept great. I was pretty tired from that first day. I will
Was,
have to say when I feel like there was when we were sitting there having dinner under the leaky tarp and all talking about why in the world this place hadn't built an actual dinner structure yet. It reminded me that camaraderie can be formed in both joy and misery, and I feel like we did. We all did bond over that situation. But
yeah.
yeah, I slept pretty well the first night. You did not, if I recall correctly, right?
I'm no, I'm a tough sleeper. I need like noise. I need like that white noise. I need like a fan or stuff like that. So luckily I did bring like headphones inserts and stuff like that for my phone, and some battery packs, and I tried to get comfortable. I just couldn't get comfortable. I was I'm always thinking about the next day and stuff like that. But I didn't have a great time, but I got up earlier than a lot of other people. I think I got up with Mark at probably like 3, 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I I I went, sorry to say, I went to take a shit, and I had a beautiful, beautiful view. It was like, I wouldn't say open skies, but I could see so much. And I was like, all right, today's gonna be a good day. Today is gonna be a fantastic day. You know, when we all made breakfast, we did pretty well. We start moving up. We get past the caretaker, and then we're like, all right, everybody here checking off. It starts raining again.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just like, oh man. And we were all like ready to like go without our gear on. And we all have to take our packs off. My tent's already soaked. Everything's already soaked. And I think that day was just the day to shut up and go, right?
Yeah, and I definitely think one of the struggles of that second day was the fact that all of our packs weighed more now.
Yeah.
Everything had gotten wet. Everybody's tents were wet. And for those who brought, did I talk you out of bringing a change of clothes? I think I did, right?
I think you talked me
Or
out
you
of
had one
bringing
shirt.
pants and a shirt.
Okay, so a few people decided they were going to go ahead and take the extra set, which was nice because they had a dry outfit for the first 30 minutes of the day. But then they had two wet outfits, the soaking wet outfit in their backpack that was never going to dry, and the soaking wet outfit that they were wearing. But yeah, the first day or the second day is definitely the hardest on that hike. Do you remember what our how much elevation we lost on day
Ooh,
two?
that's a good point. Give me once. Actually, I have it like right in front of me.
Like where?
So
Yeah, I
once
have it
again,
somewhere. I can't remember.
day two was 10.2 miles with 3,900 or 3,900 feet, 9.6 miles, 3,900 feet of gain, but elevation loss was 4,100 feet of gain. So to put in perspective, that's a lot of up and down. And we summited 4,000 footers. Geo, South Twin, or wait, I think South Twin, Garfield, and Lafayette. Geo wasn't a 4,000 footer at this time, but the problem we had is Henry and Mark knew that on this second day there was a possibility of thunderstorms, and when you get above, what was it, South Twin, you start to get on the Garfield Ridge, correct?
Yes.
And the exposure is you're above tree line almost the whole time to Lafayette, and
And even
basically,
coming down from Lafayette, you're still above tree line. You're exposed for another 3/4 of a mile.
yeah. And where did we stopped at the Garfield shelter, right?
Yes, I believe so. I think it was Garfield Shelter. Yeah.
Yeah. So we stopped there. We decided, and we passed on Summit at Garfield. I'm pretty sure, or what? There was another 4,000 footer Galehead. We passed on
Oh yeah,
Galehead.
that's it. It was Galehead Hut. It was
Yes.
Galehead Hut next to Galehead. Yeah. So we I feel like that morning was actually pretty nice. I don't know about
Yes.
you. We had, some kind of rolling ups and downs, which some folks call puds. I know that, we'd kind of divided into a quicker group and more relaxed pace. On the back, we were saying, "Oh yeah, we'll take the puds." It's nice. It gives your muscles a break. It's like, okay, you work one group going up, another group going down, and that was great until we hit that long descent down to Galehead. I don't know about you, but that descent was pretty tricky. There were a
Well,
lot of really steep sections, some parts where you had to kind of sit down and slide.
yeah.
But at the very least, for the last part of it, it had stopped raining for a little bit.
Yeah. When we got down to Galehead, I remember that one part we went up to Garfield, though. It was like climbing the waterfall. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where we finally met some other people hiking the trail. And they like right below it, probably like, like 100 yards below it, they're like, have fun hiking that waterfall. And we're like, waterfall? The hell are you talking about? And the trail had become a waterfall because of the rain. And I'm pretty sure from that time that we got out at the Gio lean-to or the shelter, when we put on our stuff, we didn't take it off until the top of Lafayette. And it was just rain back and forth. We got to the Galehead shelter, and that was a relief because we were like, damn, let's take a break and let's eat something, let's get a snack, let's get something warm, let's get warmer. We were all pretty, it wasn't cold, but it was a little on the edge of cold. You were on the edge
Mhm.
of like, man, I'm warm when I'm going up, but I'm going down. It's not chilly, but you're getting on the edge.
Yeah, that's that tricky window where you're okay when you're moving, but if for some reason you have to stop and wind picks up, all of a sudden you're shaking.
Yeah.
But I do remember right when so we had our warm meals and had some coffees down there at the hut, and we're like, all right, we need to stay on schedule. Let's get moving. And when we'd walked in, it had finally stopped raining. And I remember walking out the front door of that hut, and it was raining harder than it had been the entire trip up to that point, right for the beginning of our climb.
Yep. I remember that. I think I took a picture of all of us with our stuff off. And then, like, right when we marched on to that, it just swept in and we all
Hmm.
changed back into our rain gear. And we're just like, you got to be kidding me. And once again, I don't know the mileage from the hut to Lafayette, but we had a good march along the Garfield Ridge. And once again, the time when there's thunderstorms, time is of the essence. You do not want to get caught on the open summits in the middle of a thunderstorm with lightning and stuff like that. You are at a huge risk. And we needed to move somewhat. And it actually, when we started to go up Lafayette, there was, what was it, 3 puds, pointless up and downs, what to call it. There's 3 false summits, 2 or 3 false summits, correct? Going up to Lafayette.
Felt like there were 5. It felt like
Yeah.
there were plenty.
Yeah.
You see the peak and you say, oh look, Lafayette, there it is, finally. And you get right up to the top of it. And as soon as you crest, you say, oh wait, no, we go down again. There's another one right there. That must be the end. And you
Yep.
get up to the top of that one, and well, surprise, that is not the case.
It's a big FU Lafayette from coming from that
Now,
way.
when you guys broke tree line up there, I think you were probably 20 or 30 minutes in front of my group, which was a little further back. You got some hail, didn't you?
We got a little tiny. I wouldn't. I mean, it was hail, but it was, somebody called it differently. It wasn't sleet. It wasn't hail, but it was in between of that, and we did get a
Mm.
little tiny bit, and that was right before the first false summit of Lafayette, and it was just like, oh man, is this what's going to come? Like, what are we going to hit when we get? So Lafayette is 5,700 feet. So that's the tallest of the peaks in the Pemi area. So, who knows what's going to hit up in the tallest peak. And we got something of that. And then once we got up to the second false summit, the clouds started breaking. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, no way. And even though the clouds were moving, barely any wind. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And everything started to break when we got up to Lafayette. So Henry, was that what you guys were probably on the second false summit when that started to happen, correct?
Yeah, I feel like we had just broken tree line and started going up that first false summit when we finally had that break in the weather. And it was fun because that's a hard climb going up there. And I was up in front, and there were three coming up behind me, and to be able to say, "Oh, guys, hang on, turn around," and you turn around, and for the first time in the past day and a half, you can see this huge sweeping view. It's like you forget the color green. I mean, I guess we were walking through the woods, but every view that we had been at had been completely white out to that point, right? We got a couple little patches of views, but nothing real. But you guys must have had a couple good ones up top too.
We somewhat did. I think we got some really good pictures of the sweeping clouds and stuff like that. And then we were just like waiting for you guys. I'm once again, we make sure we checked on our fellow brothers to make sure that they were okay and stuff. And the only thing I had against that is that we got to rest, and you guys get up and you guys get like 2 minutes of rest, and I'm like, okay, we got to move. So that's what sucks is my friend always said, when Stosh stops, you stop. So you can get that rest that Stosh stops. And I was telling the others that I'm just like, if you see us stop at the summit, you guys got to stop so we can get the same amount of rest. But at the same time, we're at the top, and Mark's like, we have an hour to get down to the Greenleaf Hut and to like claim our spots for dinner. And I was just like, are you kidding me? He's like, no. It's 5 o'clock or it's 5:30 or something around that. And one of the guys like shot down. He's like, I got it. And he starts sprinting down. And we're like, okay. So we all summit Lafayette, and then we got to go also a mile down, 1,000 feet down to the Greenleaf Hut. So day 2, 9.6 miles, 3,900 feet of gain, 4,100 feet of loss, summiting 4 different mountains, and then going down to the amazing Greenleaf Hut, which changed my whole perspective of this hike. I thought that was fantastic.
How did you like that last mile down?
That wasn't too bad. I was hurting, but I think when I got to the summit of Lafayette, I started getting the blisters. I think you checked them, being the nice guy you are. You checked them at Lafayette after we've eaten. Hopefully, I think we've eaten.
Yeah, my dessert.
Yeah, and I thought that descent wasn't bad. Compared to,
for me, I felt like that was the longest mile of the day, because you can see Greenleaf Hut from the top of Lafayette. So we started going down, and we're like, yeah, there it is. Like finally, like that's where we're gonna get to sit down, get off these rocks, rest, have dinner. And we hit the tree line down there. Those, I don't remember, they were fir trees or something, some kind of conifer. We hit that tree line, and man, I felt like we had to go an extra mile and a half as soon as we got down to that part. But that's the last mile of the day is always the longest one, I think.
Of course. And I'll agree with that. And when we arrived, the funny thing is when I arrived there, because we kind of broke it off. And I know, I forgot his name, but he was the best. I stuck with him the most. The guy with the red hair, what was his name? Do you remember? Todd. I stuck with him the most. I loved him. He was a very good inspiration for me. But he was down there first, and then I came down and I saw one of the crew members in like a weird red costume and stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, and I didn't know about the crew. I had no clue about like their how would you say, craziness? Like they're
They're theatrics.
theatrics. Yes, they're theatrics. And that was definitely a good welcoming as we come in and there's people that are all dry and we are soaking wet. We look miserable and we're just like, where do we check in? Where do we hang up our freaking packs? And that was a great welcoming to be in a warm place with warm food and to actually get dried off and actually walk around in my freaking socks and my sandals actually because couldn't do that before. We stayed in our cold boots and our I flipped out of my socks the day before, but still it didn't help much. But I don't know. What did you feel like when you arrived at the Greenleaf?
Salvation.
Yeah, right.
That felt great, man. Taking off your shoes, and I think one thing you miss and don't know you miss at the same time, like even only on the second day of the backpacking, is like sitting down at chair level, not like sitting down super low, like on a rock or straight on the ground. So like sitting down in the chair, and our group, because we were a little behind, one thing we left out earlier is when we were up on, I think we were on the second fall summit of Lafayette, and you guys were up top. I had a quick talk with Mark. He called me because we had service there for a second to check to see how we were doing. And I said, hey, man, get down there. Make sure they save us some food because we knew we were not going to make it there for the 6 o'clock dinner, which starts at 6 o'clock sharp. So getting down there, being able to put down our stuff and have the crew bring out a hot dinner to us when we were like, I said, don't worry, guys, they're gonna save us food. It's gonna be fine. But like in the back of my head, I'm like, oh boy, I sure hope there's enough dinner left for everyone because we were hungry.
Yeah.
So sitting down, eating, having a warm drink, yeah, that felt great. I think just being inside. And the weather was actually cleared up at that latter part of the day after we hit the summit. So it's pretty nice out, but just after the 2 days of rain, knowing like, okay, we're good. We've got a bed tonight. Yeah. Gonna get some good rest for tomorrow.
Yeah. And as we were coming down and we were eating and stuff, everything started to clear up. You could see Lafayette. You could start to see the mountains around you. And it was just like, wow, this is crazy. And I remember going outside, I actually had to put on my puffy jacket because it was a little bit of a breeze, but a little bit chilly as well. But you're also cold from the rain and stuff like that. And the funny thing is I remember hanging up my backpack in one of the areas where we sleep and like looking below and seeing all that water drip from below it. And I'm just like, I felt bad. I was just like, man, is there, like I asked the crew, I was like, is there anything I can do to put underneath that to help collect the amazing crappy water that I have down there? And they're just like, no, let it go. It's okay. Like we can't do anything about that. And like all of our backpacks were dripping water because of how much stuff. And we tried to dry it all out as we could. Like we laid our stuff everywhere. And, and that wasn't a bad night of sleep, even though it was tough to get to sleep with like 60 people snoring simultaneously.
Not guilty.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I probably did it, but I took a video. I gotta post a video of that, of where it was
I
like,
want to see that.
It was like ducks going. It was like, it was so good. It was like
Symphony.
one after another. It was Symphony of Destruction is what I called it.
So you just have to pretend they're really big crickets or something.
Really big. Yeah. And like that night, to be honest, I will be 100% honest. That night, I was considering bailing because I had crazy blisters on my feet. Actually, I forgot to say my pack broke, my chest strap broke.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So that was putting more weight pulling on my back. You don't know how much your chest strap means to you until it breaks. Like it seriously pulls back on your back and it strains your back, your lower back to a crazy amount, and your shoulders get crazy amount of strain. And Henri's kind enough, amazing enough. He's been through this stuff before. Checks out my feet that look like sponges by now. Put some Gold Bond on it. Put some, what was that tape called, by the way?
Did we use trail toe? No, we were using KT tape.
KT tape. It was
Yeah.
the red tape.
Yeah.
So
or rock tape. Kind of the same thing.
okay.
RC tape.
Okay. That's awesome stuff. It helped with the blisters. It absorbs like impact, I'm guessing. Is that what it is?
It's an abrasion barrier.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so your blisters are usually popping up because there's some point in your shoe where you're rubbing up against the sides, or it might be a natural place where dirt and debris builds up in your shoe and it's rubbing back and forth on your skin, and that causes the blister to come up. So your blisters weren't super advanced. They were at the point where we could put an abrasion barrier on them. Did we do any moleskin on your feet? I don't think
No.
so, right?
We did Gold Bond.
You were right before getting real bad. So we did. I had lots of foot doctor time that night. I think I handled everyone's dogs for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you did. It was crazy. And I seriously, once again, I don't know how Henry was such a positive attitude. I don't know how he was just like, Stosh, we'll deal with this shit tomorrow. I got to go to bed. But he didn't. He didn't. Even right before like downtime that they had everybody closed down and everything like that, Henry was helping me out with my backpack because we had the strap broke and it separated from one side to the other. And Henry has dealt with this before with Osprey backpack. And we tried Henry tried to do his little experiments to heal it, to sear it back together. We couldn't get anything done. So what we did was just cut some paracord, tied it together, and did that. He handled my feet. I couldn't be any more thankful for the way Henry treated me that night, because I was on the edge of saying, I'm done. I'm bailing out. I know where I can bail out. This is nothing. And Henry was just like, listen, you do not want to miss this third day. It's going to be a clear, beautiful day. It's the Franconia Ridge. It's one of the most iconic places in the world on the East Coast. You cannot miss this. And I'm like looking at, I guarantee Henry could remember the look I was giving him. I'm like, don't give me the shit or I will seriously hit you.
I think you might have actually said that.
Yeah. I'm like, I was on the verge, but I was like, you know what? These guys can stick it out. I'll stick it out. I will be stronger than I think I am. And I'll get a good night's sleep, get a good breakfast. That was the thing, is get a good breakfast and we'll get on our way. We had once again, day 2 was crazy. Rain, beautiful, clear, coming down the Greenleaf Hut, got a nice dinner, got some snacks, and we headed off at night. Day 3, we're back at the Greenleaf Hut in the morning, get a crazy, awesome breakfast. We're all freaking ready to handle day 3 and wake up, beautiful clear skies. I can remember the view from those toilets are the best view ever.
Oh yeah.
And that's the funny thing is if you're in the toilets, you can get reception. I actually talked to my wife, but on your other side of the Greenleaf Hut, you can't. So it's crazy. So I was like, sat in the toilets for a little while, texting my wife saying, I'm okay. We're going to continue this crazy day. And day 3, 10.4 miles, 2,100 feet of gain. There, not as much as the other ones, but 5,100 feet of loss. 5,100 feet of freaking loss. Most of the gain was going up to Lafayette, correct?
Yeah, over 1,000 feet, or at least 1,000 feet.
Yeah, and that's a mile, 1,000 feet of gain going up to Lafayette, because that's 5,700 feet. You're at the top spot of this whole loop. And then we still summited. We had to summit Lincoln, Little Haystack, Liberty, and Flume. 3 of those are 4,000 footers. Little Haystack is not a 4,000 footer, but you get up to above tree line on Lafayette and you're kind of like huffing and puffing. You stop and then you turn around and you have a beautiful view of New Hampshire, every which direction. And I can remember meeting Henry up at the top of Lafayette and just being like, wow, I'm glad you talked me into this. And he took a cool 2 pictures of me with a smile on my face and me with not a smile. I'm like, happy Stosh, mad Stosh. And I got a great view. I got a great picture of you. One of my most favorite pictures of you looking at the Franconia Ridge. And
Oh yeah.
what a great day
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah, it was great. That was, I think, my, you know, big motivator going through the whole thing. And I was like, all right, the first 2 days, the weather's challenging. Like, it's tough when you have a really hard hike and then you add another element like bad weather to it. But having something to look forward to at the end, like having decent weather up doing Franconia Ridge was big. And that was one of the big motivators for me. And I know I was using that with the whole group, saying like, hey, listen, the last day looks beautiful. I'm like, this is if there's one day we want to be clear, it's the day we do Franconia Ridge. And going
Yeah.
in the direction that we were, for me, I think that's the best view. That view down the ridge line, it's just like, man, that's like something you remember forever.
Yep. Iconic and
Yes, iconic.
memorable. And it wasn't bad going up and down. I could remember when we were at the top of Lincoln, I think I had you inspect my feet again. And I'm just like, this is getting really, really crappy. Like I'm starting to feel a lot of pain. And I still couldn't, I couldn't be mad because the views were everywhere. I got to admit, there's a lot. I mean, it's a very iconic, but there's a lot of damn people on that during the day, like the good days.
Yeah, and it's wild because we probably saw like 5 people, minus at the campsite at Gio in the first 2 days, and then Franconia. The day that we did the ridge, we had a beautiful day, and it happened to be a Sunday, and man, people were out in numbers.
Yeah. It was like, move over to the side for this group, move over to the side for that group, slow down for this group. It was crazy.
Yeah. We had a couple Instagram stars, taking selfies up there, but I think that didn't take away from it. I don't think anyway.
Not at all. I gotta admit, it was crazy. One of my favorite spots was when we were on Flume, and that had that. It was crazy, like rock. It was almost like not say lava, but it was pointy rock and stuff like that we were on. And I got that cool picture of one of the guys coming down the side of Flume, and I was just like, wow, that's freaking steep. Like to his right,
oh yeah,
is that amazing crazy slide. And after Flume, I gotta admit, the rest of the hike freaking sucked. I forgot how many miles that was. I think it's like 4.6 miles of just constant down.
Yeah, and it's funny, a lot of people say the hardest part of the Pemi, it's if you're going the opposite direction of us, it's hitting that rail bed for the last 5 miles going flat. And we're like, oh well, we're going the other way, so we don't have the death march for as long. But yeah, that descent from Flume was another one of those spots where I think it was only 6 miles or something like that, but it really just drug on forever. And especially coming down from being up on a ridge line like that, where you have a lot of stimulation, you're seeing a lot, and now you're back in a forest. And that you really feel like your destination is the car. Once you're on that final walk to the car, everything starts to feel a little bit longer. But it was a pretty woodland. There were all those wooden steps and ladders. That was kind of cool. There were a few nice viewpoints on the way down from those. But yeah, I could only imagine if your feet were hurting, that a long downhill doesn't do anything to help your feet.
Not at all. So like once we got past like the steep parts has the ladders, and it's really cool. I got to admit, that's a bit different from what we deal with in the Catskills. We only have like one place on Slide Mountain that has that. So that long descent, not long, but short descent of the ladders was really neat. I was really like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then after that, though, is a constant, basically down, like a beautiful down slope of like 4 miles. And I remember walking with the group, the faster group, and we were just silent. Everybody, it's always that last time is you're silent. And I was in the back and I was just holding my breath, and I'm just like, my feet are freaking killing me. They are starting to like blister and bleed and stuff, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to get back to the freaking camping area, or get to the parking area. I got to finish this. And eventually, we got to the Lincoln Woods Trail, I think it was, or I think that's where it was. And there was a little creek, and we dropped our stuff and waited for you guys. I put my feet in the river, and I passed out. I seriously must have passed out for 10 minutes. And Mark came over and woke me up, and he's like, "Hey," I'm just like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "What happened?" And he's just like, you passed out. He's like, "I thought you were dead." I was like, "Am I that bad?" He's like, no, I knew you were breathing, man. I was just being funny. And he congratulated me. And I feel like, after that much, and I don't know, I'd have to ask from the other guys and have to ask for you if I complained that much, but I felt like I complained a lot. But being on this hike with you guys, with first responders and these military veterans, has made me a bit stronger. And like, Henry, can you describe type 2 fun once again?
Oh, yes. So there are three types of fun. Type 1 fun is when something is just, actually fun while you're doing it. Playing an arcade game or something like that. I don't know. Type 2 fun is like a lot of the hiking that you and I do, like bushwhacking. I'm sure that's type 2 fun. That is where it is challenging and hard, and maybe you're asking yourself, why the heck am I doing this while you're doing it? But you get down and you finish, and maybe it takes a day or two of reflection, and you're like, man, I did that. That was pretty cool. And you start talking yourself into doing it again, even though you might have said while you were doing it, "Oh, I'm never doing this again."
Yep.
So that's type 2 fun. That's a lot of what we see in backpacking and even just hiking. But type 2 fun's an addictive kind of fun. That's something you keep on going back for. And there's a lot to be gained in challenging yourself and pushing yourself past what you might think your limit is as long as you're doing it in a safe way. And there's a ton to be gained from that. And I know that you were going through a tough time there on this the second and third day, but I'm curious what your reflections are after that trip.
Well, we'll finish. I'm gonna tell them the kind of, like, I'll tell you my thoughts in a second. But so the total on paper and different other people's things, I figured out was like 31.5 miles, over 9,000 feet of gain, 4,000 footers, summited over 10 mountains, 2 days of rain, went through 5 pairs of socks, 4 blisters on my feet, but I still had great memories. And like I said, the last day, I was happy and stuff, and then everything started to hurt, and I was like, I'm never freaking doing this shit again, ever. And the one thing that made me say I was never doing this again is when we got to that almost trailhead, and we met those 3 guys who had just ran it in like 6 hours. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we just got done." And we're like, "Got done from what, 3 days?" And they're like, "No, we just finished it." And the guy's like, "Time 6 hours 33 minutes." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Done." And I seriously walk away, and I walk up those steps and get back to the car.
Jeez, was it 6 hours?
I'm pretty sure
I,
you
I
said.
hope it was. I hope it was more than that. I'll tell you something funny. So you guys left before me. I was with Brian in the parking lot. I got a ride back with him to our base camp, and I talked to those guys for a minute, and I saw one of them had a PCT sticker on the back of his car, and I asked what year he hiked. We talked for a few minutes, and we realized we hiked with each other on the Continental Divide Trail. Man, that guy, his trail name's Ramen King. And it took a minute for both of us, but we're like, you look real familiar. But I actually hiked with that guy for like 4 days in
Wow.
Colorado. No, Wyoming.
Unbelievable.
That's beast mode. I don't do that. I don't run. I'm a slow sport guy. I like walking.
Yeah. I like enjoying the views instead of flying past them. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, that was brutal stuff. Like I said, I'd never do it again, but I sent Henry a message recently. I'm like, let me know what you got going on. I might join. And I'd be willing to probably join again. And I said to people, I'm just like, yeah, I would do it if there was 100% chance of good weather. but then I might be a little bit more prepared this time for what's gonna to happen. And once again, 31 and a half miles. I mean, my GPS was for my phone read 34, which might be the accurate information because we also went down to the Greenleaf shelter and went to Guyot. So that's an extra 2, 3, 4 miles. So 9,000 feet of gain. I don't even know how many feet of loss. I gotta add this up. So 4,000 one day, 600 the other day. So that's around 4,700 and 5,000. So over almost 10,000 feet of elevation loss. Probably, yeah, somewhat crazy stuff. Henry, what was your experience on this hike?
Oh, I thought it was great. I loved it. I mean, I've got a pretty high tolerance for type 2 fun, but for me, part of the reason like I got into guiding even was seeing people, having the chance to help encourage people and see people get through these goals. Everyone who showed up had the goal to hike the whole Pemi Loop. And, we all faced the challenges together. We faced the rain together. We enjoyed the beautiful parts together, and we finished as a team. And, even though, you're definitely, I think all of us had, sore feet, and everybody had hit a low at some point of the trip, and everyone had a high, but, I don't know, finishing as a team and having that satisfaction and getting it done is great. And I will say, you're not the only person who enjoyed some type 2 fun and reached out to me not long afterwards asking about future trips. So
Good.
It's definitely it's something that keeps you coming back.
Yeah. I mean, memories are crazy. I really dread some of those things that we went through and stuff. But then at the same time, like you said, I gained new friends. I realized how freaking tough these guys are, you guys are, and just the stuff we would talk about and getting to know, like I said, Todd was my closest dude on the whole hike. We talked a lot. He was such a good influence. He never looked down, and he was just like, "Oh, man, this is good. We got it. I got you. You're with me, man." And Mark and you were just leading the hike. I had full confidence that we wouldn't get into any crappy situations or anything such like that. But I had a great time, and it was definitely one of the most memorable experiences of my life. And I once again, type 2 fun. Maybe I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah. That's how it goes. And I will say, for people listening, this is and for you, like, this is one of the hardest hikes we would do. It's up there. The Pemi Loop is no joke, and especially the weather that we happen to have, which there's nothing we could do to control that. Makes it harder, but we do offer all levels of backpacking trips. So if you thought this sounded like a good idea at the beginning and we managed to talk you out of it and maybe back into it, we do offer beginner level, intermediate, and these advanced hikes.
Yeah. And the one thing I forgot to mention is that it was a month after the hike that my feet started to peel, and it was disgusting and horrible. But I was just like, man, these feet has been through the worst of the worst. So that was something that I was just like, oh damn. And my wife's just like, what the hell's happened to your feet? And I was just like, oh damn, this is horrible. But you know what? They're stronger feet now. That's all I gotta say.
That's right. That's right.
So Henry, I'd like to thank you and Another Summit and Guardian Revival for inviting me on this hike, teaching me so much, making me stronger, introducing me to more friends, and once again putting my confidence into hiking guides and that they know their shit and that they will get you through the toughest of the tough and that they will support you through whatever is going on and they will be the positive influence in the day that you are having, even if it's 100% miserable. So thank you guys for everything. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's our pleasure. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So do you remember the pizza place we got pizza from that one night?
No, probably something mountain pizza. I don't know, but it was, man, that hit the spot. I don't know if it was the power of eating it after a 3-day hike, but that was fantastic.
It was. It was a long drive home. It was a 6.5 hour drive home, but I had 3 slices of pizza and I don't know how many Powerades and then 2 things of chicken strips and Wendy's and but that pizza company, I will definitely look that up and make sure that they get tagged in this because that is definitely our post hike brews and bites in the area. So Henry, before we go, any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, if I could plug just a couple of our trips we have coming up, if you don't mind. We have and this is through Another Summit, Canoe Camping 101, September 8th through 10th. So that's going to be a basics to canoe tripping. So we're going to go out, we're going to do some backcountry cooking, learn to do fire, do some portaging, stuff like that. September 16th through 25th is the 100-mile wilderness. So that trip, we're going up to Maine and doing the last 120 miles of the Appalachian Trail up to Mount Katahdin. That's a pretty advanced trip. So it's probably for people who have a little bit of hiking experience at least. And then in October, we're doing the Black Forest Trail loop out in Western Pennsylvania, the 12th through the 15th. That is a fantastic trip. It's going to be, usually the foliage is pretty good then, and it loops around what they call the Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania. So they're really incredible views, beautiful spot. And then when's this podcast going to publish?
This is going to publish Monday the 21st.
Okay, cool. So not too late. During the month of September, we do something called the 1 Mile Challenge. So this is like a fundraiser to raise awareness of suicide in our guardian, our veteran and first responder communities. The challenge is, you walk 1 mile every day. With the option of doing it with some weight, and it goes towards a good cause. All the funds raised help us provide programming for these communities, and it's kind of fun. You can make teams, do it with your friends, share it. But that's a 1 mile challenge, and I believe that starts the beginning of September. Awesome. Those are all my shameless plugs.
Henry, awesome plugs. Thank you very much. I will put all this as I can into the show notes. Once again, thank you for joining me on this awesome discussion and this awesome hike that I had such great type 2 fun.
Oh yeah, the best kind.
I can't wait to do it again. Hopefully my little crying and complaining and stuff will deter you guys from inviting me again.
Oh no, you're welcome anytime.
Okay, so thank you to the monthly supporters. Really appreciate you guys supporting the show. Thank you to the sponsors of the show. Once again, I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you to everyone who is listening. I really appreciate you listening to the show. 88 episodes in, and can't believe I'm still going. Henry, thank you for joining me on the show, and I hope you have a fantastic night. I hope to see you again soon.
Hey, you too. Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good night.
Hey guys, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking memes, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you just keep on living, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.